In the middle of Africa, where the sun rises over wide open land and the wind dances through tall golden grass, there is a very special place called the Serengeti. This land is full of wild animals, elephants, lions, giraffes, rhinos, and many more, but there is something else that makes this place special. There was a man. His name was Baba Jabari. People in the villages and even the rangers at the wildlife reserve called him the Guardian of the Wild. Baba Jabari had spent over 50 years protecting the animals in the Serengeti. He was not just a ranger, he was like a father to the wild. When he was young, he was strong and fast. He chased away poachers, healed injured animals, and taught new rangers how to care for the land. Now, his body had grown old, his back was bent, his steps were slower, but his heart was still strong for the animals. Even after he retired, Baba Jabari refused to stay home. Every morning, he climbed into his old green truck and drove deep into the grasslands. He did this without asking for money. He just wanted to make sure the animals were safe. The younger rangers would say, "Baba Jabari, rest today. It's too hot." But he would smile and say, "The animals don't rest from danger. Why should I?" One day the heat was worse than ever. The sun hung like fire in the sky. The ground was dry and the air was heavy. Even the animals stayed under trees, hiding from the burning light. But Baba Jabari still went out. He had heard a young rhino was injured near the river path, and he wanted to check on it himself. He didn't want anyone else to go. He believed the rhino might be scared and might remember his voice. He grabbed his old water bottle, put on his ranger hat, and slowly drove off into the wild. The truck rumbled over the dry road, sending dust into the sky. Baba Jabari hummed a soft tune as he looked left and right, watching the grass carefully. Then he saw it. A young rhino was lying under a small tree, its body shaking, a deep cut across its back leg. Baba Jabari parked the truck and stepped out slowly. He didn't want to frighten the animal. His voice was soft, almost like a whisper. "There now, little one. It's okay, I'm here." He took one step forward, then another. But suddenly, everything changed. A sharp pain shot through his chest like a spear. His vision blurred, his hands shook. He dropped to his knees. He tried to breathe, but the air wouldn't come. Something was wrong, very wrong. He fell forward into the dirt, clutching his chest, sweat pouring from his face. Far away, two young rangers, Io and Kamari, were checking on a group of zebras. They were joking, enjoying the morning. But then they heard it, a strange sound, a cough, a groan, carried by the wind. "Did you hear that?" Io asked, turning his head. Kamari nodded. That came from the river path. Without another word, they jumped into their truck and drove fast toward the sound. As they reached the river path, their hearts dropped. There, lying in the dust next to his truck, was Baba Jabari. "Baba!" Kamari cried, running to his side. His eyes were half open, his lips moved, but no words came out. Io checked his pulse, weak and slow. Kamari opened his shirt pocket to find his heart medicine, but it wasn't there. "He forgot it today!" Kamari shouted in panic. Io grabbed the radio and screamed, "We need help! Emergency near river path! Baba Jabari is down!" Across the radio waves, voices answered with urgency. "On our way! Hold him still! Don't let him sleep!" Kamari held Baba Jabari's hand tightly. "Stay with us, Baba! Please stay!" Minutes felt like hours. Finally, the sound of an ambulance broke the silence. Dust filled the sky as the medical truck raced across the plains. Paramedics jumped out and rushed to him. They placed a mask on his face, pushed medicine into his veins, and started CPR. Everyone watched. The young rhino nearby stood slowly, looking at the scene with wide, sad eyes. In the medical center, the room was cold and quiet. Machines beeped, nurses moved quickly. But after a while, the beeping stopped. A doctor turned around slowly. His face said everything. "I'm sorry," he whispered. Baba Jabari Dad was gone. Silence filled the air like a heavy storm. No one moved. No one spoke. The man who had loved the wild more than life had taken his final breath in its arms. But the wild was not finished with his story. Something unexpected was coming, something unforgettable. The wind moved slowly through the trees. The sky was grey. Even the birds were quiet, as if they knew something was missing. Baba Jabari, the heart of the wild, was gone. Everyone in the reserve felt the loss. The animals seemed to move more carefully. The rangers walked in silence. A piece of the Serengeti had vanished. But two young rangers, Ayo and Kamari, couldn't rest. They sat by the old green truck, now parked near the camp. Ayo placed his hand on the steering wheel. "He sat here, just yesterday," he whispered. Kamari nodded. "He always told us, the wild speaks, we just need to listen." The words stayed in Ayo's mind. Listen to the wild. That night, while others slept, Ayo lay awake under the stars. He kept thinking about Baba Jabari's final moments. Why was he near the river path? Was it only the young rhino? Or was there something else? The next morning, Ayo woke up early. The sun had just started rising, painting the sky with soft orange light. He grabbed his bag and walked to Kamari's tent. "Let's go," he said. "Where?" Kamari rubbed his eyes. "To the river path. I feel like something's not finished." Kamari looked at him. He could see it in Ayo's eyes. This wasn't just a feeling, it was a calling. They jumped into the truck and drove off before breakfast, their eyes scanning every part of the land. As they reached the same place where Baba Jabari had collapsed, they stopped. The young rhino was gone now, likely healed and returned to the herd. But the wind, it carried a strange sound. Ayo stepped out of the truck and held up his hand. "Listen." Kamari paused. The wind blew again. There it was, a faint, low cry, almost like a whisper. "Over there!" Ayo pointed toward a thick patch of bushes. They ran, pushing through dry grass and thorns, careful with every step. Then they saw her, a lioness, but this was no ordinary lioness. She was beautiful and strong, yet something was terribly wrong. Thick barbed wire was wrapped around her front leg. Her golden fur was stained with blood. Her eyes were wide with fear and pain. She growled softly but didn't move. She was trapped. "Oh no," Kamari breathed. "That's why Baba came here. He heard her." Ayo's heart raced. "She must have been caught in that wire for days. She could have died if we didn't come." The lioness tried to move back, but the wire only dug deeper into her flesh. She roared in pain, her eyes full of panic. Ayo knelt slowly. "Easy, girl. We're not here to hurt you." Kamari pulled out his radio. "We found a lioness in serious trouble near the old river path. Bring cutting tools, medicine, and backup. Fast," a voice replied. "On the way." The two rangers didn't wait. Ayo slowly stepped closer, while Kamari circled from the side. The lioness didn't attack. She watched them, chest rising and falling quickly, but something in her eyes looked familiar. "Look," Ayo said softly. "She's not just scared. He paused. "She's pregnant." Kamari froze. "You're sure?" Ayo nodded. "That belly, those signs. She's going to have cubs." A wave of shock rolled over them. This wasn't just any lioness. She was a mother, and if they didn't act soon, they could lose all of them. The mother and her unborn babies. Minutes later, the rescue team arrived. They brought a tranquilizer dart to make the lioness sleep gently, just enough to free her. They aimed carefully. Click, the dart flew. The lioness blinked slowly and then lay her head down, breathing soft and slow. "Let's move!" shouted the vet. Everyone rushed in, gloves on, tools ready. The barbed wire was twisted and sharp. They had to be careful not to cut too deep. The wire had sliced through skin, down to muscle. Blood soaked the ground, but they worked quickly. Ayo held the leg steady while Kamari helped clean the wounds. "We're almost there," said the vet, sweat dripping from his forehead. Finally, the last bit of wire came loose. The vet wrapped her leg in white bandages. "She's strong," he said. "She'll live." They gently lifted the lioness onto a stretcher and placed her inside a special cage to take her to the wildlife hospital. But as the door closed, Io noticed something. On her ear, a small old tag. He leaned closer. It read, JBA01. Kamari stared at it. "What does that mean?" The vet turned around. "That's one of the earliest tags ever used in this reserve. It belonged to a lioness that Baba Jabari rescued years ago, when he was still young." Io's eyes widened. So this lioness could be her daughter? The vet nodded slowly. "It's very possible." The two rangers stood in silence. Io whispered, "Baba didn't just save her once, he saved her family." Even with his last breath, Kamari looked toward the golden plains. The wild remembers its guardian, but what no one knew was that this lioness's story was only just beginning. Something was growing inside her, something wild, something brave, and it would soon change everything. The wildlife hospital was quiet when the lioness arrived. The sun had already set, painting the sky in deep shades of red and purple. The stars had just begun to show, and the air felt heavy, like something important was about to happen. Inside the small clinic, soft lights glowed. The lioness, now resting inside a clean enclosure, was finally safe. Her wound had been cleaned, her breathing had steadied, but her eyes were still full of fear and something else. Hope. Io sat beside her cage, his hand holding the metal bars gently. He whispered, "You're safe now, Mama. You're not alone anymore." Kamari stood behind him, arms crossed. "She's strong, just like Baba Jabari said all lions should be." Io nodded. He saved her, and now it's our turn to protect what's coming next. The vet walked in, holding a small tablet. "Her vitals are good. She's healing faster than we expected." "Is she still pregnant?" Io asked, his voice soft but full of worry. The vet smiled. "Yes, the cubs are healthy, but they could arrive any day now." Kamari let out a breath. "We'll be ready." The next 2 days moved slowly. The lioness, whom Io had started calling Zuberi, meaning strong one, grew calmer. She no longer growled when they approached. She began to eat, drink, and even close her eyes when Io spoke softly to her. But something was changing. Late one evening, dark clouds rolled over the hills. Thunder echoed in the distance. The smell of rain filled the air. Inside the hospital, Zuberi paced her enclosure. Her breathing grew faster. Her eyes were wide again. She lay down, then stood up, then lay down again. Io jumped to his feet. "Something's wrong." The vet rushed over. He looked inside, eyes sharp. "It's time. She's going into labor." Io and Kamari stepped back as the team moved in. The storm outside grew louder, and rain started to fall. Thunder, lightning, and inside the small building, life was beginning. Zuberi cried out once, then again. The hours felt long, but finally, just before dawn, a tiny sound broke the silence. A soft mewl, then another, then another. The vet stepped back with a smile. 3 cubs, all alive, all healthy. Io couldn't hold back his joy, his eyes filled with tears. "She did it." Kamari leaned forward, smiling. "No, they did it. Baba Jabari, Zuberi, all of us." The lioness looked up at Io through tired eyes. She was no longer just a lioness. She was a mother, a survivor, a symbol of something bigger. The cubs snuggled close to her, their tiny bodies warm against her fur. Outside, the rain began to slow. The sun pushed through the clouds. Golden light poured across the land once more. It was a new morning. Io stepped outside and took a deep breath. The earth smelled fresh, like it had been washed clean. He looked at the sky and whispered, "They're safe, Baba. Just like you wanted." Kamari joined him. "Do you think the wild will accept them?" Io turned to him. "The wild doesn't need to accept them. They're already part of it." Weeks passed. Zuberi healed quickly. Her leg grew strong again. The cubs, 2 males and 1 female, grew faster than anyone expected. They were playful, curious, and full of life. The hospital staff watched them every day. They laughed at the cubs chasing each other, falling over their own paws and wrestling in the soft hay. But deep inside, Ayo knew something. They didn't belong behind glass and walls. They belonged to the wind, the grass, the trees. They belonged to the wild. And soon, it would be time to let them go. One quiet morning, the vet called Ayo and Kamari into his office. "It's time," he said. Ayo's heart skipped. "You mean—" "Yes," the vet smiled. "Zuberi is strong. The cubs are ready. We'll take them back to the plains, back home." The next day, the team loaded the transport truck. Soft straw was laid down. Water, food, everything was ready. Zuberi and her cubs were gently placed inside. The engine roared to life. Ayo and Kamari sat in the back, next to the cage, watching the cubs as they slept against their mother. After hours of driving, the truck finally stopped. They had returned to the same golden plains where Zuberi was first found. The cage door opened slowly. Zuberi looked out. She stepped into the sunlight. Then, one by one, her cubs followed. They stood in the tall grass, blinking at the open sky. Free. Ayo and Kamari stood silently, their hearts full. Zuberi turned back one last time. She looked straight at Ayo. Their eyes met. And then, without a sound, she turned and walked forward, her cubs running at her side, back into the wild, back into the legacy of Baba Jabari. Ayo whispered, "This is just the beginning." And somewhere, deep in the wind, it almost felt like Baba Jabari was smiling. I spent countless hours writing and rewriting this story to make sure every moment touches your heart. From building suspense to creating emotional connections, every line was crafted with love and effort. If you felt connected to this journey, your support means the world to me. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more powerful stories like this one.